On the under $3 menu at McDonald's, the sausage burrito is $2. So dip, drizzle, or douse to your heart's desire. Because no matter how you sauce your sausage burrito, it's still just $2 with McValue.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Nobody brings you better coverage of the teams you're passionate about than these guys.
Try some more.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We are joined now by Bill Bender from the Sporting News to talk some college football. Bill, good morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you guys?
Good. You know, we would really love to talk college football, but you can't talk college football these days without talking politics. That must be the most enjoyable part of your job, trying to count votes in the Senate to figure out if we're going to have a college football playoff or if we're going to have a breakaway. And what is the SEC doing? What are they doing, Bill? What do you think?
Well, you know, I think, one, it's kind of an empty gesture in some ways to me. Yes, there's always going to be Super League talk. Yes, I always find it fascinating, because, the sport has different tiers, even within the Power Four conferences, even within those conferences themselves. You mentioned it. I think in the last 3 off seasons, I've probably spent more time talking about what's going on off the field than what's going on it. And that was the case, obviously, all summer this season to this point.
Yeah, and here we are now with the SEC having its meetings and people saying, oh, the threat of them leaving, it's real. I don't know that I buy it, man, because if it's real, then do it. And it seems that it's in the talk stage. What do you forecast as far as what you hear?
Well, I don't think anything of it, at least in the short term, just because in a lot of ways it's a national sport now, right? It's no longer a regional sport where when I was growing up, you watched the Big Ten, right? You watched the Big Ten, and that was it. You knew very little about the SEC and the Big 12 and, what was going out west, other than it looked nice in the winter when you saw the Rose Bowl games. But I think it's a national sport now. Who's going to watch an all-SEC league outside of the southeast part of the country? I can tell you right now, my buddies wouldn't watch it at all.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, and to build on that, I would say, the interest in the sport, how it has changed is, and I not just because it's my job, but I'm into like a Utah-Texas Tech game. I'll sit there on a Friday night and watch Texas Tech play Houston now with interest because I think part of it is twofold. Part of it is, the playoff is expansive and those kind of things, and the conferences are fun. And there's an NFL element to that where you get to know these guys to the next level. And two, I just love college football, right? What happened to just liking it? It's never going to be like it was in 1984, 1994, or even 2004. But it doesn't mean that the sport on the field isn't pretty cool.
Right. When the ball goes up, we tend to forget about all the other nonsense.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's the case this year because all of these conferences have fun storylines. Like, for example, at SEC, you've got Lane Kiffin at LSU is a very interesting storyline to me, right? Like, I know the way that he left Ole Miss and the way that he came to LSU, there's a ton of pressure on the Tigers. I know that game in September. Again, that's another example. Like, I'm excited to watch LSU play Ole Miss. Now, granted, the reason why is I want to see Lane Kiffin walk into that stadium and see how it goes. But it's just another example of why this sport has gone national and why that's good.
LSU, Texas, in the SEC title game would pit two guys who worked together for Norm Chow at USC and who both tried their luck at USC and it didn't work. I think there's a million storylines if we can get to that point. We'll see if they're good enough to get to that point. Somebody like Georgia might mess that up. But here I am on this side of the country, and I watch the Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12 as I've grown up, and I would love to see that. I think those two on a big stage like that would be, well, personally, I would find it hilarious, and who knows what they would say, text, or tweet to put a little extra juice on what would already be a big game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Texas, I've been asked about them a lot this summer, and I think one of the things about Texas is of those teams that you might consider a true national championship contender. I'm talking Texas, Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana, Notre Dame, and, those upper-tier schools, Georgia. I don't want to leave out Georgia. Georgia, we're not talking about enough. Mm-hmm. I would say Texas has the most pressure on them, and specifically Sark, because they've been to the playoff 2 of the last 3 years. They've had Arch. They brought in a lot of portal additions like Hollywood Smothers, Raleek Brown, Cam Coleman, Rasheem Biles on defense. The roster's loaded. I would anticipate when that SEC preseason pool comes out, if it hasn't already, that Texas might be picked to win the conference, if not Georgia. And so, like you said, if it were Texas Ole Miss and you had Lane and Steve, these are 2 of the best coaches in the country that haven't won a national title. But the more time it takes for them to get to that national title, the pressure is going to build.
I'm going to throw a theory at you and get your response. The transfer portal has actually created more interest, and people talk about it's the Wild Wild West and it's got to be reined in, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of publicity and attention and viewership, even if it's from the positive, you've added these transfers. You look at like Oklahoma State, right? They've sucked these last couple years amazingly. They just went in the toilet. And now they bring in the North Texas people, the coach, the quarterback, and away they go. So that's a sense of a positive. But how about the negative, too, to where I'm a Sun Devil, man. I went to Arizona State to quote the line in the movie, right? Well, you best believe there is no way I'm going to be rooting for LSU. Right? They took the quarterback. And you just mentioned Texas, Raleek Brown. He sat on the bench. He had a hamstring a couple years ago, didn't do anything. The first-string running back gets hurt early last year. They bring him in. He runs for over 1,000 yards. He takes the money. Now, I don't begrudge him taking the money. No problem at all. That's the system. If I had a kid, if it was me, and that's what you wanted to do, absolutely. But there's no way I'm going to be rooting for Texas. So right now I got 2 SEC teams that I'm going to be rooting against. So they're going to pique my interest. I'm going to see every week what they're doing. So in that regard, the transfer portal, I could argue, has created even more interest in a sport that I think is the second most popular in our country.
It's created a lot of interesting side effects, that being one, where you have quarterbacks that leave one school and then go win a Heisman Trophy somewhere else. And that rate's pretty high, honestly.
Yeah, LSU has already done that to me once before. I hate him even more. Thanks for bringing that up.
Well, LSU did it to Ohio State, too, by the way, with some guy named Joe Burrow. So
there you go.
He
I
did
loved
all
it then because I hate Ohio State.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it does create interest. You know what? The other thing, I think it does create opportunities. Where I would reel it in, and I've always kind of stood on this, I do think you should be able to transfer once, and then if you transfer again, you should sit a year. And if that goes against your 5 for 5, so be it, because I think we do live in this environment where it makes it hard to re-recruit guys. But in terms of the interest of the sport, I don't think the portal has hurt anything at all, other than, it's kind of like what college basketball went through when guys were going to the NBA draft right away. I grew up in the 90s and 80s and 90s, and in the 90s, you had an attachment to, like, a basketball roster. Like, I can still reel off the starting 5 for, like, Arkansas in 1994, right? But
Corliss
you can't do
Williamson.
that as much now. Yeah, Corliss Williamson, Scotty Thurman. I could get the, Corey Beck. That was a really good team, right? And I think that attachment is lost a little bit. But the trade-off is there is some excitement around the sport in places. I mean, Indiana's proof of that. If you guys would have told me 5 years ago, 3 years ago even, hey, Billy, Indiana's going to win the national title, and they're going to dominate everybody, and they're going to go 16-0, I would have told you there is no chance in that would ever happen. But Kurt Cignetti's been able to do it on a pretty accelerated timeline there, obviously.
Bill Bender joining us. He writes for the Sporting News. He is a glutton for punishment. I love the fact that you in early July have the courage to put up college football predictions for the bowl games, the 12-team playoff, and the national championship. I'm sure fan bases are all furious with you. But BYU fans, they probably like the fact you put them in the playoff over Texas Tech. Why? What do you see there?
Well, here's the thing, and here's a secret behind the curtain. When we were putting together our college football preview magazine, which is available on newsstands, shameless plug there,
nice.
We at first had Texas Tech winning the Big 12, and this was before the Brendan Thorsby debacle that took up a month of the offseason. You slide them down, and then all of a sudden, to me, it becomes, okay, this could be – Texas Tech can still win the Big 12. I think 3 other teams, BYU, Utah, and then Houston, who I really like coming off a 10-win season. Those are kind of your contenders now. I do think with BYU, you bring back L.J. Martin, you bring back a strong running game, and Bear Bachmeier started to throw the ball a little bit better towards the end of the season. He had 325 yards in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Combine that with the defense. And, Utah, the one thing there is obviously the coaching staff. They're a little bit of a shakeup, not a little bit when Kyle Whittingham leaves. But I'm telling you, Houston, Willie Fritz has got them on the right page, and they've got 2 really good quarterbacks in Connor Wigman and Keyshawn Henderson. So that's that top tier of the Big 12 with schools like Arizona State and Kansas State. And you mentioned Oklahoma State. They might be the most intriguing team in the Big 12 to me. Maybe not this year, but within 2 years, I think Eric Morris is going to have them going really, really, really strong.
Yeah, no question about that. I mean, that's what we're going to be interested in following there in this conference, and I think it's from my perspective, it's going to be entertaining. And also, we have another local team. We've the Wasatch Front here in Utah. We've expanded our local connection to Ann Arbor, Michigan, for obvious reasons, right? I mean, their coaching staff, their players, and so forth. And Kyle Whittingham, who we've all known for many, many years in this market, he's been such a stable. I don't even have to say it anymore. You already know that. Michigan, very tough schedule. The AD stepping down and all this stuff. Kyle just brought in to clean it up. What do you make of that entire situation that he is now obviously eyeball deep in?
Well, I think for the last 5 off seasons, we've had a Michigan story that wasn't a good one. Whether it was a recruiting scandal or a sign stealing scandal or what happened with Sharon Moore and now Ward Manuel. And I think within the administration, the cleanup is underway. The one thing they won't have to worry about is on the football field, you have a serious man, right? A serious coach. And I think he's going to bring a little bit of maturity to a roster and a program that maybe didn't have that last year. And I would say this. So Michigan went 9-3 last year, and they lose to Oklahoma on the road, USC on the road, and Ohio State comes in and beats them. If Michigan goes 9-3 this year against that schedule you mentioned, where they're playing Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon. They're playing Oklahoma. If they do that, I think the vibe around the program would be completely different because it would show that Bryce Underwood developed, that their defense was okay, and that Kyle Whittingham knows what he's doing, which I think he does. I'm really interested. One layer of that, he was around that BYU-Utah rivalry for such a long time and had a good record. I don't know if you guys do it that way, but I know in Central Ohio and in Ann Arbor, I can tell you what pretty much every Ohio State or Michigan coach's record is against the other guy before I can tell you their career record. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that rivalry because as Urban Meyer, who coached at Utah, would tell him, you're judged on that. You know what I know Urban Meyer as around here? 7-0 against Michigan.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Those coaches have gone head-to-head once. Kyle Whittingham was starting a running back in the secondary, and now Ohio State was missing NFL receivers, but they replaced them with NFL receivers. They had an NFL quarterback, and it came down to a field goal at the end of the game when the Utes lost their quarterback in the second half. Should I read into that, or bowl games one-off, it doesn't mean anything, or should I read into that Kyle Whittingham is going to figure out how to beat Ryan Day?
Well, I think you could read into one thing that I thought of when Kyle was hired was I've watched him wear out Michigan a couple times.
Yeah.
When he was at Utah. I watched him go to the Big House and wear out Michigan. I watched him do it. I believe it was Jim Harbaugh's first game.
Yep.
They went to Utah, and Utah wore them out. So he understands that element that when you play at Michigan or Ohio State, it's about the trenches. I've watched that game for 45 years. Well, maybe not when I was 1, but that game's won up front and running the football and those kind of things. That Rose Bowl, which I remember well, I would say more of a one-off, but also more of Kyle will know, hey, Ohio State's going to have receivers because, by the way, they still do. They've got a guy named Jeremiah Smith that's pretty good. But I remember that Rose Bowl more for Jackson Smith and Jigba, and look what he's done since. So, but it'll be I think he'll add a fun layer to that rivalry with Ryan Day, who, by the way, despite winning last year, people in Columbus know that he's 2-4 against Michigan. So you're judged by that game and that game a lot.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think that he understands that rivalry. Have you been able to get your hand or get a pulse on what he's been able to do recruiting? Because so many of these guys on the staff, they don't have relationships in the manner in which they had relationships here.
Well, I think Kyle will do fine. So far, it looks like their recruiting class that's coming in will be all right. It is different when you have to jump into this part of the country, too, as anything else. But if I were selling Kyle Whittingham to a recruit in this area, I would look at, the first guy I would point to in a recent example would be like a Spencer Fano, who is playing nearby with the Cleveland Browns, and I think is going to have a fantastic career. Didn't allow a sack last year. I mean, come on. He'll be able to recruit offensive line well, and that will play well in Michigan because they love their offensive linemen. You're also competing against the Penn State, which, that's the one position of disparity. It's funny, we just talked about it. The receiver position, Ohio State's had just this litany of first-round picks at the position. Michigan hasn't had a first-round receiver since Braylon Edwards. It was like 21 years ago. So I think that's something I look at with those two programs. Does he get a couple receivers? What does Jason Beck do with the quarterback development? That's in focus right now, what he does with Bryce Underwood.
That is critical. And the one thing that I've heard is that Devin Dampier at Utah was so dialed in on that offense, which he got to run in New Mexico. So he's running it for the second year. But his decision-making was so top shelf, just excellent. And can somebody in their first year embrace it the same way? Or maybe he's such a good runner that he's going to make people look silly anyway. But that's probably the thing that most people are going to overlook is that Dampier made decisions and reads that most of us don't know about. And he made them quickly. And when they graded the film, it was always just fantastic. And so that's a high bar. If the offense is going to perform the same way, Underwood's got to be able to perform the same way.
I agree. And I think Devin Dampier, watching him last year, he was a guy that I remember we put in our Heisman sleepers just because one of the things with the Heisman was you get the guy that passes the ball, makes those decisions well, and also puts up a lot of running yards. Yep. And we knew he was going to do that. And that's the kind of the Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels theory to the Heisman. Sorry to bring up Jaden again. Didn't mean to. But when you have that quarterback that can get around 1,000 rushing yards, they'll have a chance to do it. Now, I don't know if Bryce will do that much at Michigan, but I think the arm talent, you saw it last year. It was weird. There were games and throws that he would make that it was like, okay, that's why he was a five-star guy. And then there were games where the decision-making was very tentative. And I do think some of it had to do with the guys he was throwing to. And you got to have receivers too. So it creates an interesting mix. I'm really excited to watch Oklahoma-Michigan in week 2 because as I've gone through the summer, Oklahoma's getting a lot of playoff buzz around Mateer. So, them coming up to the big house, that'll be one of those early season kind of barometers for both programs.
No question about that. We're looking forward to that game. How much pressure is on this Michigan quarterback if it doesn't get going right away because they have that big game right off the bat, week 2, I think it is. And so, they got Carr's younger brother there, and he had a nice spring for whatever that's worth. So I'm wondering what level do you think the patience is as far as the leash goes?
Well, it'll be interesting to see because, not only that, but C.J. Carr at Notre Dame, who we all know the relationship with Lloyd and, I played in the shadow of Michigan Stadium, and now he's got a chance to carry this Notre Dame team that's getting a ton of hype. And I will say it on your station as I have all summer. I think this time it's not crying wolf. It's pretty real around the Irish. I think they're going to be very, very good this year. So if that happens and Bryce Underwood fails and Tommy's sitting there behind him, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, yeah, I think the results will be pretty good. I like the talent. I think their schedule, again, very high-level difficulty. They've got to they have Iowa coming to them. They have Penn State coming to them. Penn State's another team to watch just because their schedule's really soft. When I look at those schedules, Penn State doesn't play Oregon, Indiana, or Ohio State. I don't know how Matt Campbell got that in his favor, but I think the Nittany Lions could hang around into November as a result.
So BYU's bitten off quite a bit with Notre Dame coming in this year is what you're saying. Circle that. Notre Dame's probably going to be undefeated when they show up here.
One of the more games that probably isn't getting talked about enough because BYU is going to be in the playoff mix. Notre Dame's obviously going to be in the mix. That's one of their circle the date games to me. They haven't played in a while, if I'm not mistaken. I remember they had a home and home a while back, and that'll add to it as well. But I think BYU having Notre Dame come in there, that's probably their biggest road game. What I saw, SMU. They've got Miami coming to South Bend. For those of us who went to Catholic school in the 80s, we remember Miami Notre Dame very well in the 80s, and it'll be cool to see. I'm actually happy that rivalry's kind of reignited a little bit.
Well, Bill, we appreciate the time and the college football talk. It won't be long now. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me on. Take
all
care.
Right, there's Bill Bender. You can check him out. Sporting News. They got an archive. Just type in his name. You can read all the stories, and you can see his playoff predictions and why he's got BYU where he's got them. Notre Dame, the real deal, PK. He's got them playing in the title game against Indiana. An all Hoosier deal. They had a first-round playoff game a couple years ago, so see if he's right about that. All right, DJ and PK, when we come back, we got a question up on our Facebook page. That BYU-Utah game is not on rivalry weekend. You know, the whole theory is move it somewhere else where it can get more attention. How is it going to get more attention on the first week in November? We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
This is Utah's best coverage of the Utes, Cougars, Jazz, and Mammoth. Here we go. From the guys who have been there for all the biggest moments in Utah sports history. You're listening to DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The KSL Sports Zone and Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. Question up on our Facebook page. How much buzz will the Holy War get? The rivalry game. Traditionally played at the end of the season, but in the Big 12 era, they move it around. The league's got some big games, but it doesn't have an endless supply of them, so it gets parked wherever TV networks think they need it. I don't get Saturday, November 7th, PK. That day is loaded with big games. BYU, Utah, the same day that Miami's playing Notre Dame. That one's 5:30 prime time, already been set on NBC. Alabama's playing LSU. Georgia's playing Ole Miss. Oregon's playing Ohio State. That has Big Noon on Fox written all over it.
It do.
It's going to be a lot of competition. There are some other games that day that could be good if Michigan State can get it together. Michigan's playing Michigan State that day. Michigan State's got to win enough for that to have some sizzle. They haven't been doing that lately, so that might not be a deal. But those other 5 games, that's 5 games, 4 time slots. I wonder if Utah-BYU is going to be the big game in the last time slot.
Oh, November. That sucks, but it's also
or
the
2 of these
reality.
games end up at 1:30 and 2 of these games end up at 5:30. I mean, the SEC games, whatever the order is, I assume one of them is going to be at ABC at 1:30 and one's going to be on ABC right after it.
Was it the last time they played at Rice-Eccles? It was a late game. I think it was, because I can remember on our post-game show, the guys interviewing me, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm on the side of my house because I don't want to go inside because you got to talk with energy. Yeah.
You're all fired up. Everybody else is trying to sleep.
Right.
So go out in the yard so the neighbors can hear you through the window.
So I was literally on the side of my house at 2 o'clock.
Good thing the cops didn't roll up. The neighbors are like, there's a prowler. We can hear him.
And that sort of stinks because this is a big game, and it's a great rivalry, man. I love the rivalry. And there's no way people are staying up around the country to watch that at that time. I mean, it's too late in where the majority of the folks live, but that's what we've got.
So the other thought is that it's going to end up on Fox at 1:30 because
Amen.
the Big Ten has a game on Fox, 10 a.m. our time, and then at 1:30, CBS gets a Big Ten game. So usually Fox will pivot to a Big 12 game in that second time slot.
Well, that's
so it could
awesome.
be 1:30, and you're going head-to-head with either Alabama, LSU, or Georgia Ole Miss.
I'd rather do that, selfishly. And I think that shows the beauty of the mountains, the campus.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to go in the press box and look west, the lake. And it's unlike any other atmosphere in the country. And I've been to most of them in the country. I've literally been to every region. And so I would, and November 7th, usually the weather isn't too bad by then. You never know. And it could be a sunny day, and you can really just accentuate the beauty of this area, which is a great selling point, but has to be. And then just what are they going to be talking about that day? And what's the dominant conversation? If you're going to be drowned out by others, then put a rivalry weekend.
And be drowned out by others. Right. At least on a rivalry weekend, there's more TV windows to put it because you got all the games that can be played on Friday.
You can get some to play on Saturday.
And then some on Saturday.
Thursday, too.
Yeah. Then you worry about getting drowned out by the NFL, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, what if BYU and Utah are both rolling? Combined 0-1 or 2 losses, maybe the game ends up in primetime on Fox.
Even better.
Head-to-head with Miami and Notre Dame. But talk about showing off the campus. You know, late in the day, the sun setting, all that kind of stuff. That could be awesome. Maybe it'll already be dark by then. Wait, we're not changing clocks now, right? So it should still be light when the game kicks off?
You're the politic guy. You keep up on the antitrust stuff. I don't know what the clock situation is.
I think we're permanent daylight savings now.
Are we?
Yeah.
So
it'll be like the Rose Bowl. The sun's setting on the Sand Games, except the sun will be setting on the Wasatch. That could be awesome.
It would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not pretend it's better than
it's not the Sand Games, but
the Gabes.
You just want to say Sand Games. Because literally nobody in L.A. says that. It's
I'm
like
not in L.A.
It's like you saying UC Los Angeles to get under people's nerves. Get on their nerves.
Either get on their nerves or get under their skin.
Whatever. You get on their skin and under their nerves. UC Los Angeles.
Do I have the innate ability to get under their nerves?
You do.
And get on their skin?
Because you're the only one who says UC Los Angeles.
That's its official name.
I know. People say UC Santa Barbara. They say UC Davis. They don't say UCD necessarily.
Right.
UCSD and UC San Diego are interchangeable, but not UCLA and UC Los Angeles. Nobody says UC Los Angeles.
And who better personifies a nobody than me?
Oh, man.
Right? I'm the ultimate nobody. I'm sitting there front row down in Dallas, and I can't even get, hey, Scotty G and Tim Lacombe interviewed Morgan Scally. What about that other guy with the big nose sitting right there? I'm the ultimate nobody. So if it works out that way and they get that prime opportunity, absolutely, man.
But the conversation of the day, Oregon and Ohio State should be a battle of unbeatens. There's a Texas game. I'm just taking it for granted. I get that.
The good thing is that this is a rivalry that is going to draw some level of attention if it was played whenever at 2 a.m. But you want maximum exposure, and I don't know that you're getting it. And you can argue, well, then pick a week where you're going to get it, and you're not going to come up with that. But it just seems more natural on rival.
This seems like maximum competition. I mean, that seems like a loaded weekend.
Because it is, and it's November.
But, hey, that's the respect that you get to be part of a loaded weekend in November because you're that big a deal.
Right, I agree. Yeah. And November matters more than October and September. Mm-hmm. It just does. Right? And that's when everybody is at that point.
Yeah, if
the weather has changed a little bit. Whenever the sun sets.
Too early in the season, it minimizes the stakes.
The sun, we make a big deal on this daylight saving. Well, the sun will be up the same amount of hours. whether it's 1 hour earlier or 1 hour later, whatever it might be. So I'm going to live with it either way because I have to. And football, November football just screams, this is awesome.
Stakes are getting high.
Yeah.
Options are getting limited.
Right. And it's really, and then they got that dumb college football playoff thing that they release every Tuesday that I hate, but watch every Tuesday.
This is stupid. When does it start?
Yeah, I know. Right. And we make such a big deal about it, and I feel like I have to participate in that and watch it and hear what those ding-dongs have to say about when they interview whoever the committee guy is.
I just looked to see if they moved it back a week to November 14. Well, Michigan's at Oregon that day.
Yeah.
So that's...
Well, Utah's got to play Arizona. That's a huge game.
USC's in Indiana. Utah's at Arizona.
And I worry about Utah in that week.
Texas is at LSU that week.
I would rather have a cream puff after that game.
Yeah, totally get it.
Yeah.
The Utah November schedule is brutal. Those three games in a row.
But, yeah, anytime. I mean, this rivalry takes so much out of you. We saw it. The play, we know the Mark Harlan and the Kyle kicking the chair and all that, and what for BYU is so emotional to win that game, and then the next week they go to lose to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very good that year. We were okay, but they weren't. It shouldn't have happened, but yet it happened.
And when did it happen, and why? Well, one of the elements, not the only one, but one of the elements is right there. And that legendary drop, you can find it in there, Alex, that drop when Kyle Whittingham tells PK, I know you're loving this, and you're like, oh, I'm not loving it. I want to disappear right now. Don't make me part of the story. But that was because Utah got drilled at Arizona State, and you're a Sun Devil, and you're loving this. And that was the week after Utah had beaten BYU. And then they went down there and lost a conference game.
So I'm going to go down and cover that Arizona-Utah game, and I'm concerned about that puppy.
In November, that is very selfless of you. Excellent time for a trip to Arizona. That'll be down to like 92 by then.
November, you can start.
Yeah. Starts cooling off a little. It'll be hot, but not.
I would say warm.
Many of us think 90s are hot, but people in Arizona
With the potential of being hot.
Yeah.
Especially if it's during the day. They could go either way there, because certainly they can play it at night and the temperature will be just fine. But that's a huge game. So maybe there's not a perfect weekend, but the Holy War deserves its buzz because it's been earned. It hasn't been given to them. It's been earned. The games, so many of them, have been so incredible, so close, so bizarre. And if it's not bizarre during the game, then something after the game makes it bizarre.
There's always something. There's always storylines.
Yeah. It's so impressive.
It's the rare year that's ho-hum.
Yeah. And if it's a blowout with all the turnovers, that's bizarre. The time they played in a bowl game was bizarre.
That was bizarre.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Touchdown, turnover, touchdown, turnover, touchdown, turnover, touchdown, turnover. I'd never seen anything like it.
And then everybody
ends up being a
knows 5 more
game.
minutes to go, BYU would have won. Everybody knows that, right?
If there had been a fifth quarter.
No, just 5 more minutes.
Only 5.
Just an NBA overtime. Yeah. Incredible rivalry. I hope that it gets as much buzz as it could possibly get because it deserves it. Right? What do the people say?
The people in Utah, Kevin says, a lot. It will get a lot of buzz.
For sure.
Michael says it's going to be the 5th most important game in the country. You put a graphic up, it's got the 5 games there, so he immediately looked at it.
We shall see.
Things don't usually, on paper, I get why he says that, but things don't usually play out the way they look on paper. Right now I'm looking at Utah's November schedule thinking that's very difficult, but by the time it plays out on paper, who knows?
Well, yeah, but that's after.
Quarterbacks get hurt, O-lines
Utah
fall
should
apart.
have an outstanding record going into that because at that point their schedule isn't that difficult. BYU, if they manage the week before, they play the Devils on Halloween, and then 2 weeks before that they're playing Notre Dame. If they're undefeated, wow.
Aaron says if they're both undefeated, it's going to get a ton of interest. If not, then it's a blip on the national radar.
Well,
And along the same thoughts, Jonathan says it depends on how all these teams are ranked and how BYU does versus Notre Dame earlier in the season.
and maybe in this case, they don't necessarily have to beat Notre Dame, just play them real tough. If Notre Dame's all that.
If Notre Dame's been out there destroying people.
Yeah, and if we get to that point and you lost to Notre Dame 24-17 and Notre Dame is undefeated in November, when Notre Dame is on top, there's nothing bigger.
The amount of old video that will be clipped from BYU Notre Dame games with Bettis in the 90s and from Notre Dame's last national title in 88. They haven't won a title since 84. They haven't won a title since 88. Yeah, it'll be nonstop.
Yeah, so we'll see how that happens, and it has a chance to get some buzz, even with a jacked, loaded schedule.
I know you're a Sun Devil and you're enjoying this.
There it is. That's a BYU Utah hangover comment right there.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I know you don't. I know. But it's a direct result of all the emotion of the rivalry game.
Fandom is checked at the door in those situations.
And they just didn't have any energy. My
job
ASU.
is to cover Utah, not to root for ASU.
Right.
And I take this very seriously, despite the fact that I come in here and screw around so much.
Notre Dame will be 6-0 when they play BYU, won't they?
I don't see a reason not to.
Wisconsin, Rice, Michigan State, Purdue, North Carolina, Stanford.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've already looked at it.
6-0.
Yeah.
Away we go.
Right. Yeah. And BYU, obviously the big game is Arizona right there.
Yeah. Can they get through Arizona? And at TCU.
I think Arizona's a bigger game, but TCU is certainly a challenge. There's no doubt about it.
Arizona being at home, TCU on the road. But I would rank them in order of difficulty right now. I would think Arizona's 1, TCU's 2, but don't view TCU as a gimme by any means.
Not at all. No, I've been down there too many times in that situation. I have a lot of respect. Well, basically, it's Texas football.
Yeah. If you get a good coach and a program gets rolling and you're in Texas, it can be really good. We've seen that with SMU the last couple of years.
Right.
Bouncing around a bunch of leagues, but getting to ACC and turning the NIL money loose, and suddenly SMU is really good. And we've seen it with Houston. They've been up and down, but they've been up now in 3 different eras with 3 different coaches pretty recently. And when they're good, they're really good.
Yeah. Texas football.
Again, there's just so many athletes there.
Yes. And so that's not a pushover by any stretch. Not at all. I mean, I put Baylor in there.
Oh, yeah, another great example.
Yeah.
When they've been good, they've been awesome.
Right. So I even think Texas State and UT San Antonio. I have so much respect.
The Pac-12
for Texas football.
The Pac-12 bet on Texas State for a reason. Yeah. And didn't UTSA and ASU play a couple times? Didn't ASU go down and play in the Alamo Dome? I think it was a good game.
And they barely won.
Yes, I remember watching it. Yeah, I think it was like 2 points at the end or something like that. Yeah,
right.
It was a tight game.
Right. So, yes, those will be tough games. And if our locals come through unscathed, which would be cool, no doubt about it. There's just no doubt about it that if they come through unscathed, that's going to be gigantic. And people will be talking about BYU and Utah and be talking about the Big 12. That's when the Big 12 just needs to be talked about. There needs to be a buzz to the Big 12. And Cody Campbell may drive you nuts and whatnot, but the reality is he's good for the Big 12.
Can't argue that.
Right.
Keeps him in the headlines.
Right.
Keeps people interested.
Right.
Keeps people paying attention.
I'll repeat myself. Right. I'm on a roll here.
All those things are true.
They are. No doubt about it.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've got no word out of BYU, right, PK? But we do have word out of a national ESPN recruiting guru who follows foreign players quite closely and has for years. He's got a little word on what BYU's doing for a big man. So we're going to tell you about that right after the break. Stay with us.
Over 2 decades of sports radio dominance in Utah.
My favorite.
This is DJ and PK on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK. PK, you never stop looking for basketball news, even with football looming. You saw on Twitter.
I'm a news hound.
Jonathan Givoni, Draft Express, tracking all the international recruits, among other things.
Yeah.
He's been way into the international scene for more than a decade. And he's got this post just this morning. News, Slask Roklas. Man, I hope I pronounced that club right. Jakub Urbanik has committed to BYU, a source tells Draft Express. The 6'9", 23-year-old big man averaged 8.9 points, 5.7 rebounds in 24 minutes across the Euro Cup and PLK, whatever the PLK is, and brings senior national team experience with Poland at the FIBA level. So there it is. You wanted a big, there's a 6'9" guy.
6'9". Yeah. I don't think this is the end of it. I'm not sure he'll even be a starter. I think they're still out there seeing if these dudes can get a year back and what the possibilities are there. And they hand out years like candy now. And so how's that going to play out? And can they get somebody? Is a kid who has a local kid who's played out of state that they're looking at. So we'll see how that plays out. But they need size, and he gives them size off the bat. To what level remains to be seen. Modest stats, 58% from the three. From the free throw line, so that's an issue. But
they need somebody.
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe he's not the starter. Maybe there's something else out there.
I don't think he would be if the season started today. We'll see. See what I have no idea. I looked at stuff and looked at his body, and so whatever. As he's tall and all that stuff. But you need backup minutes anyway, and so we'll see if he can earn some minutes out on the floor. They need some help there. And 23 years old seems kind of bizarre, but it's the nature of the game now.
Everything has changed. It is bizarre, but it is the nature of the game, and older kids tend to win, so go get some older kids. Yeah. And they did. And the PLK is the Polish National League, and he's played for the senior national team.
Yeah, I've always liked the Polish American League. They've had the designated shooters a little earlier.
I think you're just making stuff up now. This goes back to what you said earlier about all the nonsense you do when you get in here.
Took a while for me to come around, but, the National League over there.
You warmed to the designated hitter.
Yeah.
You came to accept it.
Yes. Begrudgingly, but...
Well, what is BYU going to do for a big man? Well, that's at least what they're going to do for one big man. We'll see if there's another big man in their future.
Well, I think they have 3 roster spots open now, too. And KY's talking about the idea of filling those spots. So I expect them to add 2 more players.
Time will tell. But there you go.
Yeah.
Slask Roklas, Jakub Urbaniak. I wonder if I was even remotely close.
Well, if you sounded it out, that's the way it sounds out.
Okay.
If you went...
I gave it a shot.
Hooked on phonics, that's the way you would pronounce it. Whether it's the true pronunciation or not, I don't know.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.